Today on Connect, we're going to talk with Dr. Rick Means II of Means Family Chiropractic. Dr. Rick's going to tell us about incredible breakthroughs happening in chiropractic care.
By in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Connect Show. I'm Judy Sylvia, and I am delighted to be your host today. Thank you so much for joining us today and each week as we introduce you to wonderful people, businesses, organizations, and great events happening in Southwest Florida. So last week we had Dr. Sal of Lee Memorial on the show, and I want to ask you, have you been eating healthier? I know thanks to Dr. Sal, every time I go to eat junk food, I see his face. So he's convicting me to eat healthier, so I want to encourage you to do the same. And today we're kind of continuing just for a little bit with the doctor theme, but he's not going to talk diet or exercise, or I heard him, okay? That's my promise. But help me welcome Dr. Rick. Welcome to the Connect Show.
Hello, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I just appreciate it.
So let's set the record straight, okay? You can't talk diet or exercise today.
Well, we won't be talking any of that today.
Perfect, we're good.
All right, sounds good.
So now, of course, you are one of the Means doctors, so you have the whole family of chiropractic care.
Right.
So born and raised here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I was born and raised in Cape Coral, Florida, and went to North Fort Myers High School. And right after North Fort Myers High School, I graduated straight to Florida State University. And after Florida State University, I moved over to Daytona, Florida, and that's where I got my Doctor of Chiropractic degree, and now I moved back here.
All right, so homegrown and stayed here throughout the college. Now, you didn't plan to go into chiropractic. You actually were going to go to law school. What changed?
That's correct. When I actually, for a while, when I was in high school, law was what I was seeing for my future. And I went to Florida State. I applied to Florida State University and Stetson, and I knew I wanted to go to law. But when I got to Florida State University, a lot of things changed. I had a lot of time on my hands to just sit and think, and I prayed about it a lot. And I felt a calling that my heart was heading in the wrong direction. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt as if law wasn't really where I was supposed to be. I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And God put that very heavy on my heart, and I said, you know what? I've seen what my family's done for the community in North Fort Myers and in all of Lee County, and I said, that's what I need to be doing is helping people out as much as I can, just giving, loving, and serving the people around the area, and that was the best way I could do it.
And so you knew that was your calling.
I knew it at that moment. I called my dad on the phone and said, I'm going to be with you guys.
Make room. There's another
make room.
Means doctor coming.
I'm coming through.
So now you've been born and raised in faith.
Yes.
Obviously, it's played an important part. Your grandfather was your pastor at a time?
Yes, grandfather, he was a pastor at Bayshore Community Chapel. And now Dr. Mark, he's in the office he's my uncle. And he's the pastor over at Bayshore Community Chapel. So faith is very strong in the family.
So you definitely have strong roots, your whole family here in the community. Yes. Now, when we spoke earlier, you said you're a different type of chiropractor. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, we all know within chiropractic, there's just, major things we focus on, right? We know that with chiropractic, you have to have a healthy, functioning spine, right? And also, what I really focus on even more so is to say, I want you to have a healthy, functioning nervous system. And I want you to call an upper cervical chiropractor. Just a slightly different type of chiropractic. It's the full spine, but we do it through contacting the top bone in the neck or the second bone in the neck.
Okay, so wait, tell us what this is, because even though it's in us, we don't know it.
Right. So this is actually what I brought along is a model. So it's almost like what you see here. It's the base of my skull, the base of the skull and the top two bones in the neck. Okay.
All right.
Everybody knows the brain controls everything in your body, right? But what we don't really know is it works two ways. Your body has to be able to communicate to your brain, right? Mm-hmm. After that, your brain has to be able to communicate back down. So it's a two-way cycle. Okay. But what we don't really know is that everything comes through one hole, right? There's this area here where your brain, everyone knows the term medulla oblongata, big term, but what we're saying is the brainstem. And it drops right through this hole here So if these bones shift out of place, it puts pressure on that, almost like a roadblock, so to say.
Okay.
Or if you
So it
kink a
gets
hose,
clogged up.
it gets clogged up.
There's a problem.
Yeah. So
Okay.
what we're saying is, people, when you have these different symptoms going on in your body, or this different stuff's taking place in your body, that's just simply put, your body's communicating to the brain saying, hey, something's going on, right? But what needs to happen is the brain, that's the way God intended it to work, that's the way he made us, was we have this intelligence inside us. We call that innate intelligence and inborn intelligence. And that intelligence works from God sends it down through us, and it sends it through the brain, down through the brain stem to the rest of your body. And that's what heals us. So we say in chiropractic, it works above, down, inside, out. That's how healing takes place.
That makes sense.
So my job, simply put, is to say, let's make sure there's no interference here. Let's make sure if it is kinked, we take the kink out and allow that communication that God put in our bodies to actually express itself.
So you're like the Drano to our bodies.
I'm like the Drano, pretty much. That's all it's about.
Okay.
We get into a lot of, can you heal this? Can you cure this? And I say, look, simply put, your body, the way God designed you, you went from 2 cells to, they say, like 75 trillion cells. That's a lot.
That's
right?
a lot.
And there's organization to that, right? When you eat a sandwich, you chew the sandwich and you swallow. After that, it just takes it down to your stomach, starts, I won't talk nutrition too much.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah,
but your
no.
body breaks it down into fats, carbohydrates, all these different things. There's organization to it.
Right.
And just with organization, there's always intelligence behind that organization, okay?
Now, when we spoke earlier, you talked about some incredible studies being done and some breakthroughs in Italy, and talk about that.
Sure. There's a lot of, to start out with, we'll just say a lot of times people see chiropractic as, my neck hurts or my back hurts. But it's actually, like I was explaining, it's so much more. We're talking about cases of multiple sclerosis, right? Fibromyalgia, even anxiety, depression, these big topics that you hear all the time in the news. We're talking about just basic breakdown of communication. And there's studies being done on multiple sclerosis and different types of treatments, what we call like upper cervical care, right?
Okay.
That's what we're here discussing today. And it's not so much, in the past we've thought a lot of times that the fluids, like the blood and the fluid that surrounds our spinal cord, can't get up to the brain, and that's the major problem. But what we're seeing here is not so much so. We're doing standing MRIs and pre and post actual chiropractic adjustment and seeing that the fluids it's not that they can't make it to the brain, it's that they can't get out. Like you're saying, it gets clogged, it gets congested. And so what we're seeing is you make a chiropractic adjustment, take the pressure off of this area, and all of a sudden everything can actually flow again properly, and then their health is restored, right?
So you're actually seeing results with MS. I mean, that's
Right.
amazing.
Yeah, big results. Big results, and a lot of people, some little pilot studies have been done, and now they're in the process of working some heavier studies. So we're going to see some phenomenal stuff. I think it's going to change a lot of stuff in the healthcare that we're seeing today.
You know what I love is that you just finished up school this year, and so you're cutting edge. You have all the latest studies, and no offense, Dad and Uncle, but they're probably saying, "Hey, Dr. Rick, tell us about this a little bit."
Yeah, I mean it's awesome because you just get out of school and you're just wanting to study and wanting to read. I spend a lot of time. I was 4 hours a day just studying, right? And it's just you spend so much time on it because you want to stay on it. And I talk to people, and it's just what I'm finding is a lot of people are just so excited about that. Of like, wow, you're so young. I want the young one. I want the one with the modern technology.
Right.
Even though we're working with a body, your body's not changed.
Sure.
Someone in their 80s is the same body as someone in their 20s. We're the same, but at the same time,
Doesn't feel the same.
no, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same, but the structures, the anatomical structure is the same.
So now, what are you seeing, or the results with like fibromyalgia, as you mentioned?
Right. I have a couple fibromyalgia patients right now, and I'm seeing phenomenal results with them. And like I said, there's a big debate on whether when your bones shift out of place, is it the bones shifting out of place causing the muscles to crack? Because as you know, with fibromyalgia, very, very tender muscles along the whole back, a lot of different problems kind of combined into one. What it is I just think the same thing. If I can take this pressure off of this area and allow the brain
and
to
this is
communicate.
the brain, the stem of the
right
brain.
where the brain stem comes
Okay.
down. If I can take the pressure off of that area, then the brain can communicate properly to whatever tissue cell, whatever organ, muscle, anything. When it can communicate properly, that's when stuff starts happening. When you get that roadblock, and it's almost at that point, the communication's slightly cut off. We won't say it's cut off all the way, but it's diminished. So then you're kind of, you're leaving the tissue cell to kind of go rogue a little bit. And that's
Right.
where we start having these communication breakdowns. And so it's simple. We just remove that.
You just move that. So when we're seeing some of the symptoms of pain and discomfort, that's a flag to say something might be out of alignment here. We need to come see you.
It's tough to go off of just feeling. Like we
Okay.
go off of a lot of how you're functioning as a whole.
Right.
But pain is a necessary thing. People always think of pain as just a bad thing. It's not fun by any means. But at the same time, pain, what you have to understand, if you touch a hot stove, it sends a pain to the brain. If that didn't happen,
right.
your
Would be in
poor
trouble.
finger's going to get burnt, right?
Yeah.
That's why I say the pain's not fun, but it's necessary for healing.
That's a good warning. All right, Dr. Rick, now your passion for what you do is very evident, and you've actually taken that passion overseas in a number of missions trips. Tell us about that.
Right. So far, I've done 3 mission trips to Nicaragua, and we did 1 to Fiji. And what we do are actually going over to these countries and finding, we're mainly based churches, going to churches in different areas. And we saw on our first mission trip, we're talking 14,000 people within 5 days.
How many doctors?
Usually right around 7 or 8 of us.
7 or 8
right in that
doctors
area.
and 14,000. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, we're getting up early, and sometimes we're going out 1 hour, 2, 3 hours out into the country, finding these churches, and they've been broadcasting it throughout the nation for a while. And so we have just masses of people coming in, and we work all around the clock pretty much, taking care of people and seeing phenomenal results. Just really cool stuff.
I know you had a couple of stories you wanted to share. Tell us about the little girl that just...
Yeah, everyone has that driving moment in their life, and this is one I'll never leave. It'll never leave me. I was in Nicaragua, and there was a woman that came up to me with her daughter, who was a pretty big girl, actually. She was about 4 years old. And the mother, keep in mind, there's a boundary. I don't speak Spanish, so I didn't know what she was doing. She just handed her daughter to me. So at this point, I'm holding this little girl in my arms, and she's just talking and talking. So I had to get a translator, and I'm asking, what's going on? What is she trying to say? Because she really had a point to tell me. And she told me, the little girl, 4 years old, never walked a day in her life.
Wow.
Ever. So I was like, wow. And so never in 4 years even took a step. So we did some stuff and kind of checked her out with what we do with the procedure, and found that she needed to be adjusted, right? There was pressure on her brainstem, and she needed to be adjusted. And what we did, we took her over to our table, got her adjusted, and let her sit down for about 10 minutes. And as you know, seeing 14,000 people, you got to keep moving.
Yeah.
And when you see big cases like this, you just kind of becomes typical, and you just got to keep moving. About 10 minutes later, after she was adjusted, I look over to where she's sitting. She's no longer sitting, but she's standing. And she stood, and she walked from one side of her chair to the other side. And then I saw her jump back into the chair. So I got the mother, and I said, so she's never walked before? No. And we picked her up by our hands. And she walked, took the first step she's ever taken her whole life. And we had it on video. Mother's crying in the background. And it's just, like I said,
wow.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
That is incredible.
And when we talk, it's like I said, you have that driving force. We've always been taught, you treat every single person in the office as if it was your own mother, right? That's how I've always been taught. So to see things like that, we're talking changing someone's life.
Life-changing.
Forever.
That is.
And,
wow.
And that's why I do what I do on a daily basis. I have that picture hanging in my office of me and her. And, it just...
Now, were you able to go back and see her at all? Or,
yeah.
Okay.
So that was on my first trip over to Nicaragua, and I
you were
saw
hooked.
her. I was hooked, and like I said, I was hooked before this, but that was a solidifying moment of, because a lot of times you say, well, can it really be that simple? Can chiropractic be that simple? And I say it's that simple.
Right.
Well, how do you know? Walk
Let me
a
tell
day
you
in
a
my
story.
shoes.
Right.
See what I've seen, and it'll just blow your mind away. This story can't do it justice. To actually see and experience it, it's incredible. But we went back multiple times, and we had, I believe, 4 girls on that trip, 4 young girls, I think below age 6, that never walked a day in their life. And all 4 of them were walking by the time we left, yeah. And I got another picture of our whole team down there with another little girl, and we're holding her hands, and we've seen her on every trip so far and just keep following up with her. And she stays with us every day we're there.
There's that picture of your team with the little girl.
Right.
That's great.
Yep. She's awesome. And like I said, her father brings her over to wherever we are. And keep in mind, transportation's tough in Nicaragua in some parts. So to be able, where we are every single day, their family, I mean, that's complete trust.
Right.
Yeah. And when they have that
really
trust
cool.
and that faith, I mean, that can move mountains. I mean, we all know that. And it did for this little girl, and that's awesome.
That's why God called you into this.
Right. I mean, yeah, every day.
That's incredible. Okay, so now when should we see a chiropractor?
I think everyone needs to see a chiropractor. And it sounds cliche, it sounds goofy, but the thing is, it's not all about just when you see a chiropractor, you just get adjusted at that moment. We say you get checked to see if you need to be adjusted, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm 25 years old, and every week of my life, I'm getting checked to see if I need to be adjusted. Now I get adjusted maybe 3 times a year, 4 times a year. But to get checked every single week and only 4 times a year be adjusted, that's why I say it's more of like a monitoring process. I got to know, is there pressure in your body cutting off the life flow throughout you, or is there not? Because if there's not, then you're healing like God intended for you.
And that's a little change from kind of what we were taught, that, if we have the pain in our neck or back, we should go see the chiropractor.
Right.
So
it's a slightly different approach to it. Mm-hmm. But people really, really respond well to it. And once we get into it, it turns into a game. We go through, like, do you need to be adjusted? Do you not? I tell my patients in the office, if you don't need to be adjusted, let's have a party. Yeah. Because we can't do any better. You're healing like you should be.
Now, I know you're all about education, too. Tell us about your Tuesday nights education that you offer.
Right. So we do Tuesday night health talks is what we call them. And we invite the public out to these health talks. And when you first come in the office, it's hard. You have limited time. We have a lot of patients coming through the office. It's hard to get all the education in at once. Mm-hmm. So what we do is Tuesday nights, we go through all the stuff that you can't typically cover in the first couple visits. We talk about the healthcare in America. Where do we stand? What are we doing wrong? What do we need to do? What is health? What is, you know what I mean?
Right.
All these big topics, big picture ideas. And what are we doing here, right? Like, what are you doing in the office coming to see me? That's the stuff we really get into.
So you get time to exhale and take some time.
There you go.
Now, does someone have to be a patient, or if they're just the public can come?
No, I encourage the whole public. Anyone in the county, heck, you can drive from Georgia if you want to come down, and you come down and hang out with us, and we'll take care of you. And like I said, we have patients traveling from far away.
Okay.
Not so much just joking around, but people travel long distances to come and see us. Like I said, it's just different.
And now, if they want to, probably have them call the office and double check that it's every Tuesday, or the Tuesday they're planning to come down.
Right, just in case for some reason we're not having it on one Tuesday night. I don't want anyone to show up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just call the office and schedule with us.
All right. Well, Dr. Rick, thanks for coming on the Connect Show, and I'm excited. Thanks for your passion for what God has given you to do in our community.
Awesome. I just thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
We'll talk more, I'm sure.